another episode of Power of the Pen. I am here, LaWanna Bradford, with Barbara Beckley, who is the Diamond Factor Experience Network CEO, as well as international 9-time best-selling author. How's it going?
How you doing? How you doing? Happy Sunday.
Happy, joy.
Nice to be here.
I'm doing great, and I'm just so excited. Normally, we start this off with just getting right into our guest discussion, then followed by our author's corner where you see Barbara. But guess what? Barbara and I are not only friends and partners, but we are collaborators in a couple books. So, Barbara, you want to hold up the first one that we had the opportunity to collaborate in? 31 Ways of Influence. And that one was by compiled by Dr. Derashay, Zorn, and this is volume 2. And we're going to be talking about volume 2 today, but we just wanted to show you that there are just so many great opportunities that are out there for those of you that may be a little bit nervous about getting started as an author and you want to get a message out, but maybe you're not comfortable doing an entire book by yourself. Well, this is a way, right, Barbara?
Yeah. And that's how I started. I mean, I told myself, okay, first of all, I was in my mind saying I could never write a book. I could never. So this just wouldn't happen. You know, that's those little gremlins I say in the back of your head. And somebody just told me and said, Barbara, start off with just one chapter, just your thoughts. You've been journaling, because I was journaling a lot. And they said, just put it all together because you probably have it already. You just got to just structure it and then put that faith out there and say, let me, get a chapter. And at that time, I didn't know, this is a while ago, I didn't know about collaboration books because I was just thinking, okay, you got to write your own book. And then all of a sudden it birthed when I seen people, oh, you want to be an author? You can do a chapter. And I'm like, okay, the universe is speaking to me. What's going on with this? So that started my journey on saying, okay, now I can put pen to paper and start my story within that one chapter.
Exactly. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, Power of the Pen is designed to be a platform to spotlight women authors, but we occasionally will bring on men authors. And these are messages that are designed for women to enhance the lives of women. And we want to be able to celebrate these authors, but also their messages, and to provide them a way to expand their reach, their impact, and their influence. And the 31 Ways of Influence, volume 2, it's a bestseller, and volume 1 was a bestseller. It's the tools of the Proverbs 31 woman. So Proverbs is biblical Proverbs to successfully impact nations. And I just want to read this one section in the back. It says, in this book, 7 not so ordinary women, and that was a beautiful thing because there were 7 of us that were involved in this composition, share their extraordinary journeys. These journeys were not planned on their own, but were designed by God. And Barbara often talks about, when life happens, when the tsunamis and earthquake happens, sometimes we're like, okay, God, what's going on? Well, this book, we kind of share some of those. And it says, orchestrated by God to take them on a path that would equip them to make incredible marks in the world. So that's what this book was all about. And I'd like to, if it's okay, Barbara, just read an excerpt of yours and then let you share a little bit about this chapter. Mm-hmm. So Barbara actually contributed two chapters, and this one is called Our Uniqueness. Is it creating an impact? One of the things she says here, and it references the source scripture that she used as a foundation, was give her of the fruit of her hands and let her own works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:31. And she says, how our uniqueness impacts others is so important. Our life's message and everything we do should mean something to others. This creates change. A few months ago, I posted one of my stories in a Facebook group I facilitated. I decided I wanted the information to make a connection. I told the story of when I was 17 and my father passed. My dad didn't die from natural causes. Unfortunately, he was murdered. My dad was my rock. He would play dolls with me at the age of 7 and watch The Wizard of Oz with me no matter how many times I wanted to see it. He would look at me and say, "Do you want to see it again?" Then we would watch it over again. He would always give me hugs and let me know that I was brilliant and a diamond that was shaping. Barbara.
Oh wow, I'm crying, and the way you read it, I'm like, you need to go on auto books. Well, it all boils down to, like I said at the beginning, how our uniqueness, our gifts we have in us, and I put my father because he was the one that really started that journey for me to know that I had something in me, even though the world was saying something different that I was battling with. But he came into my life and basically said, you have a gift. We all have gifts. And he was just trying to express that in me. And as I was growing and really learning, getting molded and shaped, like that diamond story, I found out that we all do. And I told myself, I said, I want to be on a mission for all, especially women, to understand we got our own voice. We do our own thing. Just because somebody might do the same thing you do. I always use a tire example. The tire is there. It's original. I mean, there's a tire. But you might have a tire that glows and with little sprinkles on it, look real pretty. Another person might have a tire with just like purple colors on it and they like it. It's still that tire, but it's different and unique because you made it that way of what you've been doing and what you've been going through, what you like and what you accomplish and what you portray to the world. So that's why I'm always saying that are you really having your uniqueness impact others? Because I always say it's so sad to keep it inside and not let it out so other people understand that, hey, I could do the same thing Barbara LaWanna did or Derashay. I can do that because I have my own gift to express to the world.
Yeah, I love that, Barbara. And one of the things, and I want to just turn it back to you, as you said, sometimes we think about our uniqueness and our message, and it's just me, 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 me. But you said, you want us to be conscious of how it's impacting others, right? We were designed for more than just existing. There's something greater there. And with you, Barbara, what do you think is the most motivating factor to not only are you positioning yourself in this message in the written word in books, but you're also on stage and you also have an entire coaching component that talks about, as you call it, your PPD, purpose, passion, and drive.
Yes. Yes. So I told myself I'm on this mission. I said, okay, now that I know, see, the one thing about when you find your purpose, and that's why I'm always grilling in people's head too, like LaWanna said, when you find that purpose, it's not a point of, well, maybe I should do it. It's like, no, now I have to do it because that's part of your being now. So I said, no matter what. So I always talk about through the storms and everything we talked about earlier, I still have to, my foundation right there is the purpose that I need to move forward and no matter what. So I found ways even through the storm to bring that out because people are looking for that light. They're looking for that hope. And I talk about that lighthouse where I say we have to be the lighthouse. Our purpose, our passion, our drive that moves us, not in ourselves, but outside of ourselves so people see that. Because if you're a light and you're hidden, then nobody can see it. So that's why I would go back to your own purpose, your own gifts. It's like, why hide it in a box? Why hide it somewhere in your house? You need to bring it out so people to see that light because they need to see just like you need to see.
I love that. And when you just shared about the lighthouse, I had the awesome privilege to visit Barbara late last summer in Wisconsin. And we went on, was it Lake Michigan?
Yeah.
And to see, she always talks about the lighthouse. And she goes, LaWanna, look to your left. I'm like, it's the lighthouse. And it was just so beautiful and so tranquil. But it's amazing that, God will bring and put in front of us just those little beacons to trigger a memory, to trigger the impression of a message that was intended for us.
Yes.
One of the things in I Am Her, Dr. Derashay, who is actually the collaborator, and a collaborator is, or a compiler, is the one who is bringing all of us together, all the authors together. And as we mentioned, there was a shared intention, and we'll get into that when we talk about Author's Corner. And so all of us tapped into the vision of the book. And one of the things that she did is, in compiling this, she grouped these stories into categories from stewardship, financial management, purpose, relationships, being outspoken, and leadership. And at the end of each chapter, there are applications. So it's not just you're reading a good story or saying, oh, wow, I didn't know someone went through that. Great, they overcame it. But now in this book, what I love how it makes it so unique, or there's some applications, right, Barbara?
Yeah.
Right,
I would say it's one thing to say it and put it in a book and say, okay, boom, boom, boom. It's another thing to take action with it. And that's where I feel like that's where the magic starts. You're giving them awareness first. You're giving them the story, what you're putting in, and then you said, okay, now take what was stated, the foundations of it, and apply it to what you're trying to do in your life.
Yes. And I want to salute the other authors that were in the book: Sharon Jones, Reverend Rita Henderson, Tamika Smith, Shonda Johnson, and then, of course, Barbara, myself, and Dr. Derashay. Now, my chapter, I was dealing with financial management. And I came out of Proverbs 31:21 as my source. And it says, she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all of her household are clothed with scarlet. And my chapter is entitled, Stay Warm When It's Cold Outside.
I like that.
And it says, today we have financial crisis facing women, yet they're unwilling to have those critical conversations and receive the education needed to make the best financial decisions for themselves and their family. This scripture creates assumptions that somehow she received the education and guidance on not only how to manage a household, but how to be a fiscal stewardship of her household, and one who contribute financially in such a meaningful way that it eliminated worry, stress, and fear. She knew all was well, and she knew that she had done the right things to put life in order for her family. Many of us have enough reserves for 1 or 2 months, but we do not have enough to sustain us for the long time. This is all about a mindset. And this particular chapter, everyone who knows me and has heard me, I'm very passionate about women getting their financial house in order. And this particular book that we wrote, and it was released during the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic. And so I was pulling from what's happening now and how women are being impacted even more so today than ever before. The crisis that we felt is being compounded, and we have to do our due diligence to take control of our life and start putting things in place, because success leaves clues. So you may not have all the answers. You may not know the best saving practices or best investment practices or how to manage when you have more month than you do money. But when you surround yourself with the right people and you have the guidance that you need, this whole chapter is about that preparation, because it is going to get cold outside. We live long enough, we're going to feel the chills of winter. So are you ready? Are you being that grasshopper hopping about to and fro? Or are you being that diligent little ant doing the little things every single day that you know are going to give you that peace of mind that when life happens, that you're going to be okay? Or you're going to have resources that you can tap into, whether it's mom and dad or whoever. You're going to have some resources to tap into. So that's what this chapter was about. Barbara, do you want to add anything before we go into your second chapter?
Well, I love how you frame that for us, because it was a reminder, especially for women, to, really look at, your financial being and what's going on, even through the pandemic. Like you said, we did this, that you still want to do a little checklist. You still want to make sure that you're covered in that aspect. And I'm glad that you put that out there, because we need to do that all the time. I mean, like you said, in the applications of it, I tell people, when you buy the book and you read that chapter of LaWanna, apply those applications and look at what's needed, and don't be I hate to say the shame, but I'm going to say it, be ashamed because you might not have it all together, because that's why you're reading it. That's why you're learning and growing from her, is because you can put that now. It's never too late. It's never too late.
Yes. The other thing that I love is at the end of each chapter is the contact information for the authors. So not only do you get to read and understand the story, the journeys, or whatever example is being placed before you, and apply the applications, but if you want more, if you have questions, if you want to engage any of the authors, if you want us to come speak, to be interviewed, again, all of us are coaches and consultants and ministers. So we can help provide you with solutions, with guideposts to get you to where you want to go. And our contact information is in the back of each chapter just for you. Now, Barbara's next chapter is called Built to Last. And she came out of Proverbs 31:27. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. I need to say that one again. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. So I'm going to just read again, just a little excerpt. Barbara says, before I was about to give up hope and give up on moving forward, I remembered my aunt's words a few years ago. Anything you go through in life that is challenging and it hits your heart, the Bible will have the answers for you. Still, you have to believe what it says in the Word, not just read it. I had a Bible in my closet, and I asked myself, what will it hurt to start the process of looking for answers to help me dig from this deep hole? I flipped to the back of the Bible to look up at the area where I struggled. I would pick topics about hurting and helpless individuals and look at stories and scriptures about building a foundation. Barbara.
Oh, here again, you're hitting my heart. I wrote that. No, yeah, when you mentioned my aunt, and it's been 2 years now. She was 91 when she passed. So much wisdom, so much wisdom. In fact, she was just the moniker of our whole family. And what I was struggling through, with my dad and other things that happened in my life, and then the current thing that was happening at the time was me knowing I had cancer, uterus cancer, and I just told myself, I said, what do I do? I'm always the one that's saying, be there. You got that, you got that purpose and passion, da, da, da. But then all of a sudden I felt myself again falling down a little bit. And that was just showing me that even if you're that beacon, sometimes the beacon needs to have that reminder and help. So when my aunt told me that, I said, okay, we're talking about Bible is, a living Bible all the time. The words are living. Let me try this. I need to go back and do this for me, because right now I wasn't feeling that. My emotions was running with me, running wild, like they say. And I went, like I said, went to the back of the book, because I said, it was funny because I was like, I'm doing this, maybe the other route of it, just not reading I read each Bible, the books of the Bible. But I said, I need to know exactly where my hurt is right now. I need to know exactly where to find it in the Bible. I don't have time to be going through Genesis and all that right now. Let me know where it's at, and I need to read those stories and get it in me. And that's what I did. So I took the Bible, went straight to the back of it, and I wrote down everything that I had hurt, and I looked in the back where it told me where I needed to go. And I'm telling you, when I was reading those stories and I was really having an open mind about it, I said, okay, I got to get my foundation back. I had to build my foundation back, because through all the stories, it was just showing me how they had to go back. They had to go back to prayer. They had to go back to fasting. They had to go back to being around like-minded people and all those stories. And I said, I felt myself fleeing away from some of that. So that's why I had to rebuild, because my foundation was there, but it was, ugh. So I had to check myself on that.
And I love what you're saying, Barbara. It's when we are in those situations, if we pause, we will find the solutions. They're around us. They're the people who will give us wisdom, give us the words of encouragement, give us the solutions, the resources. But we have to sometimes humble ourselves and say, it's okay that I don't know, but what I do know is I don't like being here. I don't like being in this stuck state, and I need some help, and I'm going to look around and reach out to it, right?
Mm-hmm. I like how you said, LaWanna, you said, I know I just don't like it here. And that's how I felt too. I said, it's not feeling good. This is not a good feeling. So yeah, and it's good. Like you said, there's nothing wrong. Again, just like LaWanna, her book, nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know, or I need some extra help here to figure out what's going on. Yeah.
Yes. We are reading some excerpts from 31 Ways of Influence, the collaborative book that we were a part of, 31 Ways of Influence. And this was put together, compiled by Dr. Derashay Zorn. There were 7 amazing authors in here. And yes, I am saluting Barbara, myself, and Dr. Derashay as amazing authors, along with Sharon Jones, Reverend Rita Henderson, Tamika Smith, and Shonda Johnson. We encourage you to get this book. It's just not a compilation of stories, but the vision of this is women sharing their extraordinary journeys. These journeys were not planned on their own, but were designed and orchestrated by God to take them on a path that would equip them to make incredible marks within the world. And I'm going to pause and give us a quick commercial before we continue on. All right. Well, we are back. That is an upcoming collaboration book. You'll be hearing more about that as we approach the spring, and it is positioning beyond pivot. And we are looking for only a handful of women to be in this book whose lives can help elevate individuals in business who are struggling with, should I pivoted, now what? Right? It's the now what? The next chapter that I was in is called Being a Voice to the Voiceless. Came out of Proverbs 31:20. She stretches her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. During 2007-2008, I became one of the marginalized. Prior to the economic mortgage crisis, I was basking in abundance and increase. Suddenly, I, along with thousands of others, found myself the victim of poor Wall Street decisions and constructs. It appeared that I had toppled from grace and favor to a person no longer seen as worthy by those who held the purse strings. With the flow of income in question, I was treated differently, even by my so-called friends. My essence of being had not changed. I was still the same person. Yet, when I walked into the bank, I was treated less than. And my accounts were changed or placed in a lower status or even closed. My business creditors pounced on me like vultures and demanded all payments immediately, with the threat of lawsuits if I failed to pay. The landscape had definitely changed, and my face was analogous with not our kind of client. They were not looking at my character or my financial history. There was a favor. The banks did not acknowledge the billions of government bailout funds they had received, but they only sank their teeth deeper into my dwindling bank accounts. It had become a dog-eat-dog world. They had received assistance on the backs of our tax-paying dollars, but refused to extend their hand to me, a long-standing client. And this whole chapter talks about, again, this goes back to, we keep living, life can happen. And there's different variations or varying degrees of what can happen to us. And for me, financially, that was the all-time low of the low. To be treated almost like a criminal when I went into a bank account, and to not have a voice. Suddenly my voice was stripped from me. They didn't want to speak to me. And so that's why this was called being the voice of the voiceless, is I had to turn to someone who could be my voice, someone who had experiences, who could guide me and get me out of this dark, dark place. I mean, I sank to the point that I didn't know if I was even going to be able to hold on to my home. Thank God. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for having my back. There were times I didn't know if the lights were going to stay on. I didn't know how I was going to be able to eat. And again, I was rocking and rolling financially. When I say rocking and rolling, I already had a retirement account in excess of $1 million. It went down to 1,500. And there's a whole story behind that. And then to have your bank accounts literally stripped from you, where you no longer can open up a bank account. That's something that you hear from those that are on the criminal side. But suddenly I was criminalized. I was demonized. We don't want you. But the thing that hurt me the most, Barbara, my so-called friends. You know, they were there when there was abundance. Oh, yeah, they wanted to hang around LaWanna. But these so-called good friends, I got your back, girl, suddenly they went ghost. They were nowhere to be found. I swallowed my pride to even ask for financial assistance to people who I had been there and asked and had provided help. And there was every excuse under the book why they couldn't be there for me. But yet they were my friends. So this whole chapter is about, I believe, when God has given us a gift and God has given us increase and God has given us, again, increase in spiritual strength, financial strength, emotional strength. It is our obligation to extend those gifts to others and not sit selfishly on them. And sometimes we have to rise up and be the voice to those that no longer have a voice, or their voice is deafened because they don't fit the mold any longer. So that's what this chapter is about. Wow. And I'm just so grateful again for Dr. Derashay and just her vision of the 31 Ways of Influence, because it gave me the courage to tell stories about myself that lines with my business and lines with the services I provide in a way to, I think, make me more relatable to people, right? And to say, I get it.
Yes.
You know, it's not just me saying, you need to do this financially. It's like, no, I get it.
Yes.
I get it being here and being like tossed under the map. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get it. And we've got Dr. Derashay in the house. I'm getting ready to bring her up. Yay.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, lady.
Hello. How are you?
We're doing great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you guys as well.
Thank you for joining us. We've just been talking about just this amazing collaborative book, volume 2 of 31 Ways of Influence. And we just salute you and your vision, and just for being interested in our story and allowing us a platform to join. Again, I just want to read off the names. Sharon Jones, Reverend Rita Henderson, Tamika Smith, Shonda Johnson, Barbara, myself, and Derashay, in weaving stories that all somehow have a bit of relationship that can impact a woman in her life and in her business. And I'd like to just turn it over to you, Dr. Derashay, to talk about what inspired you to pull together this powerful message. But not only did you do that, I think this is amazing, is there are a lot of collaborators out there, right?
Mm.
But what you did is you tied this to not only an international message, but to an international conference.
Get ready to be transformed. Join us online on July 22nd and 23rd, 2022 at the Celebrate You Virtual Women's Conference. This is where you will expand your faith, your family, and your finances. Get strategies and inspiration from LaWanna Bradford, Dr. Derashay, Barbara Beckley, Shay Brown, Deborah Morrison, Larcinia White, Audra Agin, Mary Ellen Siganovich, Tracy Oriomi, Marva Riley, Sammy Blendell, Wendy Corner, Jacqueline Lulu Brown, Irene Vaxberg, Serena Bufalino. Join women and men from around the globe. Register today.
Oh, yes. You know what? Absolutely. Man, this project came about because there were so many women that was hurting, so many women that was in pain, so many women that were going through so many different situations and circumstances. And I wanted to provide a platform for women to hear from women just like them who was where they were and have gained some level of success in their lives. And so I wanted to develop a product where people can relate, and that through that relatable space, that it will give other women encouragement to break through their situations and circumstances that was keeping them from not being the influential woman that they've been called to be. And so I think through this particular project, as we gathered women from different spaces, from different spaces within their lives, that it allowed for other women to, as we let down our barriers, as we, let down our hair, it allowed other women to come into our space, right? And come along in the journey that we want, that we had, or the journey that we've been through, but also put themselves in that space and give them the power to move, right? The power to move to the next destination in which God had called forth in their very lives. And so this project, it did birth out a whole international movement. A whole entire international movement. We got 1 and 2 going on here, right? And so it birthed out a whole international movement where we've been able to go into spaces and talk to women from different cultures, from different backgrounds, but have the same issues, right? That have the same issues, but with those same issues that they can see and identify themselves to know that yes, they are her, right? That they are her international. That's the movement. I am her international. And so that they can identify, yes, I am her, right? I can identify with the pain. I can identify with the hurt, but I can also identify with the success. And with being able to identify with the success, that now women know too, that yes, I can do it too. I remember when we was in South Africa, and at first, the first time I took the stage, they read my regular bio, right? And so I was like, oh no, the second day I was like, read this one. And when they read the second one and it talked about my struggle, they talked about my pain, they talked about the things that I had been through, right? It wasn't the polished version of me. That captivated the women in such a way to now say, you know what? I can do anything. I can complete the vision and dreams that God has called forth in my life. And it put them in a space to, afterwards they was like, hey, I want to do this. And, we had, private sessions and things of that nature, to develop strategy so that they can move past their barriers, right? And get to the destination that God had called forth in their life. But they didn't get that ignitement of fire until they understood, listen, that I went through some struggles, that I went through some pain, that there were some turmoils in my life, right? That I had to push through to get to where I am, even in the space of opposition, even in the space of being denied, right? But having that energy, having that truth on the inside, right? To not allow the denial, to not allow life situations, storms, and circumstances to keep me in that place, bring forth inspiration. And so, yes, these books are books of inspiration, aspirations to let women know all around the world that, listen, you are her. You are the Proverbs 31 woman. There's a Proverbs 31 woman on the inside of you. And don't allow your situation, your circumstances, your history, don't allow any of those things to deny that woman to emerge and arise so that you can make the impact and the influence, right? And let us not mention the income. Right? That God has not only placed a desire in you, but that you absolutely deserve, because you are her. You are her everywhere you grace your feet. And so that she can show up confidently in that space and just own it. That's all I'm saying. So I'm always excited about this project.
Oh, I love it. And I want to read a part of one of your chapters. In fact, you led off the book with, I am her, make the time to become. And you said, as a little girl, I always had big dreams and a plan for my life. In my plans, I would finish high school and college, stay pure until marriage, become a computer programmer, analyst, technician, have children, buy a beautiful home in a good neighborhood, have a nice car and a lot of money, be able to take care of my grandma and live happily ever after, in that exact order. There was a determination inside of me not to become another statistic, a product of my chaotic childhood environment. However, all of it caught up with me temporarily, and I was caught up in a vicious cycle. Derashay, do you want to talk just a little bit about just when that reader walks away from this chapter, what's the big message you want them to take away?
Yeah, the big message that I want readers to take away from this particular chapter with making time to be her is that don't give up on your dreams, your goals, or your desires of your heart just because life may have not happened the way you mapped it out. It may not happen the way you mapped it out, but the destination is still the same, right? The destination, your end game for your vision is still the same. And so what you have to do in the midst of chaos, in the midst of all the things that may be happening, you have to find that precious time, the precious time to stay focused on your dream, to stay focused on your vision, to stay focused with that's what's on the inside of your heart. And even with that, making time, right, to heal, making time to heal, be restored, and making time to build that which is on the inside of you. And so, with that particular chapter, it's all about making the time that's necessary for you so that you can manifest the spaces and places that you have been dreaming about.
Love it. Barbara, have any comments?
I'm just in this like, oh my God, I could just stay here forever with you and Derashay. But I just want to thank, I mean, I want to say this because I know LaWanna said earlier, but I want to thank you too, Derashay, for letting, just me and us being a part of your vision. It's one thing when you're starting on your own and you know that vision, you have it deep inside of you, like you have with the I Am movement. But when you start collaborating and letting others into your vision, I always say that's just so powerful. That's like a whole nother level of the empire that's being grown from you, from what you put out there. So thank you, and thank you for listening to God to put it in you, and then to bring us on that journey, so we can just just be there, just looking and saying, "Yay, you did it, Dr. Roger, you did it."
No, we did it.
We did it. You did it. You did it because it started with you, and it came to us together. Yeah. So
and I want to thank you guys for you guys having an ear to hear, right? Because he gave me the seed of vision, but even when he gave me the vision, he already had y'all in mind. Right? Y'all was already in mind. I didn't know you. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who the women, was going to be. And that is something else. I just want to just pause right there and say, listen, you may not know who's going to be there on your journey, but if you just move in it, everybody that is supposed to be there, they will come. Listen, they will come. They will show up, because I did not know these two women, but there was somebody that was connected to me who knew them, and they see the call that went out. And when they seen the call, they came upon and they came upon the journey. And so that's the other thing. I know many times we say, "Oh, move in silence." But had I moved in silence, how would they have known that this was the project that they were supposed to be upon if I would have moved in silence? So I want us to really think about that as well. And something that we take away is that sometimes silence is a place that is stagnating you, a place that's keeping you from growing and maturing in the very vision that God has called forth in your life. Look, speak out loud. Ezra, in the book of Ezra, King Cyrus, he spoke the vision that God gave him. And when he spoke the vision, those who came to work with him, who was going to work with him to get that temple, was going to go do the work to get the temple built, they was there. Those who was going to finance it, they came out and showed up. And those who wasn't going to be a part of it, listen, they did absolutely nothing. And it's absolutely okay, because who needed to be there was there. And so I'm excited that you guys heard when it went out, that you heard and you became a part of it, because it was everything. Every person on the project made it everything that it is. And I just couldn't have done that by myself.
Well, that leads us to the, like I said, you opened up the book with your chapter and you closed it. And this last chapter is called Release Your Sound. It's based out of Proverbs 31:26. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. And you write, we commend women leaders who refuse to be silent as they break up the status quo, raised above society dysfunctions, and release their sound. Their courage has laid the foundation and cracked open doors for many women to show up in their brilliance unapologetically. Even with foundations laid and doors cracked open, there's still this glass ceiling that suppresses many women from releasing their sound. If it has ever been a time to break the glass divider and stand on the shoulders of those who've paved the way, indeed, the time is now. It is a time of awakening and activating the release of the sound that God has placed within you. Let's break the silence as Isaiah 52:1-3 is released upon us. Awake, O Zion, clothe yourself with strength. Put on your garments of splendor, O Jerusalem, the holy city. The uncircumcised and defiled will not enter you again. Shake off the dust. Rise up. Sit enthroned, O Jerusalem. Free yourself from the chains on your neck and captive daughter of Zion. For this is what the Lord says. You were sold for nothing, and without money you will be redeemed. Isaiah 52:1-3. Dr. Derashay.
Oh, yes. Listen, oh my God, listen, around the world, and no matter what space that you're in, Listen, you can go in spaces and places, and there is just a stagnation, right? In the room, in the air, in the atmosphere, when it comes to women operating in their gifts and operating in the things that God has called forth unto them. There is this invisible rope that is around the neck of women, that women dare to defy and break, dare to defy and break because of, fear, because of um, lack of confidence, because of, just so many different things. But I just believe if we would just arise, right, arise, with our sound, if we would just arise, with our intelligence and with what it is that God has given, unto us, that it will begin to make a different sound in the room, right? It will begin to make a different sound. It will begin to illuminate, a greater solutions. I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. Listen, it will begin to illuminate greater solutions because women have been silent, for so long. I believe that, that because of their solutions being absent, that's the reason why there's not a, greater solutions to different things that we are facing economically, socially, the different things that are happening, in the world. I believe that when the woman's touch get into the space, that is going to begin to make a difference. Healing is going to be able to come forth. I believe that it will cause crimes to be reduced. I believe that it is going to begin to build better relationships and things of that nature, because things have been built so one-sided because the woman has been silent. And so as soon as she begins to release her voice, better solutions are going to begin to manifest. See, and what I love about it is this, is that her solution just come and enhance the solutions that's already been there, right? And so we're able to come and make a sound in the earth next to our counterparts that enhance and make a greater global impact, right? But we need the sound. We need her sound to be released in the earth.
I love that. We are going to pause for a moment and allow, well, if I can get this to pause for a moment. Here we go. Hi, there we go. And we're going to show one ad, and we've got about 7 minutes before it's time for us to sign off. All right. So the social media secrets for the Biz Queen. We want to thank our sponsor, the Diamond Factor Experience. It started on this 22nd, or actually this past week, because there was a delay. So it's not too late to register. So you can go to barbarabeckley.com, again, barbarabeckley.com, and sign up. And again, you will have the replay available for this past weekend that you missed. So we just wanted to put that out there. But before we close out, again, you can get your copy of volumes 1 and 2 of 31 Ways of Influence, by Dr. Derashay Zorn, featuring 7 authors, on Amazon.com. I don't believe you'll be disappointed with this book. There's so many things that you're able to do within your life and in your business, if you just are able to take some of these principles. But what we want to do is we want to take the next 5 minutes. We typically spend more time with Author's Corner, but because this was a collaborative book, we wanted to take a little bit more time. And I want to talk about collaboration and how important is it. I want to bounce it to Barbara and then to you, Dr. Derashay. How important is it when? Let me reword it this way. We know it's exciting to say, oh, there's a collaborative book, and you jump on it, right? You just jump on any book. But how important is it to, number one, evaluate the message, evaluate the person who's leading the message, and to really ask yourself, because when I think of collaboration book, it's really what 31 Ways is doing. It's not just us coming together and I'm sharing space with someone. We actually know these other authors. There's a relationship that's being built and cultivated. So Barbara, I want to pass it to you, and then Dr. Derashay, to you to say the final word before we close out, just on how do you find the right collaboration book for you, Barbara?
Well, I would say, because when I'm going back, like 5 years now, when I did my first one. Now, the first one, I was, like I said, I didn't know about the collaboration books. And somebody said, well, you got a journal. You've been putting your story out there already. You don't even realize it. And I'm like, yeah, and I do want to create impact. Little me in my mind's like, I want to create impact. And they told me about this book collaboration book. Now, me, knowing that person and trusting the person they were telling me was doing this whole collaboration book, and they had their thoughts, I was like, okay, let me get into it. And at the time, my first time was like, ooh, this is cool. I'm in a book. And by the way, I'm become a first-time author. Didn't think about how it was supposed to resonate moving forward after that chapter was put in there. And even though the person that was over it was her sound, like Derashay said, was her gift, what she was birthing in this book for everybody, was it the same? Was it connecting with me? And at the time, I was like, okay, I got a book. I'm in a book. It's just the #1 bestseller. But I really had to look at the fact that maybe it wasn't really that fit. And I'm saying this because what we're saying earlier about making sure that everything resonates and connects together. So when I got in 31 Ways, both volumes, I seen the fit, because it wasn't just, we're in a chapter. It was more than that. And it was resonating with me. I'll never forget when I called Derashay. First, I met Derashay through LaWanna, and she's like, oh, she got this book, Barbara, you want to be in it? And first I was saying, okay, I've been in a few, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then something in me just pushed and said, because I was like the last of Mohicans to get in the first volume. I really was. And because she was rolling with the authors, and LaWanna, everybody was in there. And I'm like, I got it. Wait a minute. I'm missing out. Something just told me I'm missing out, Barbara. This is what you need to be in this book. And I remember calling Derashay and messaging her and saying, I want to be in the book. Is it too late? Is it too late? You said, I'll get you the link. I said, I just want to make sure I'm in the book. And it's just everything just came together. In what I'm doing and what she was doing, what other ladies are doing. So it just to put it all together, like I'm saying, is make sure that it's that fit throughout, and not just writing something in a book, because it's more than that, especially if you're trying to create an impact.
Right, absolutely. It got to align with your vision. How does, when we get ready to do collaboration, it needs to be a win-win for everyone. And so we have to decide, does this fit with my brand, right? Does it fit with my brand? Does it drive what my mission is, right? And not only that, Barbara said something very important. What does it look like afterwards, right? What does it look like afterwards? Are we just writing a book, or are we looking to really make impact, within the lives of individuals? And what does that continuation looks like? In addition to, is this a project where we're looking to build relationships, right? Because there's so many people, we get on projects and that's it. We just on a project together and we do not know, one another. And so the great thing about it aligning with your purpose, it aligning with your mission, it aligns with who it is that you serve, that now you're on a project with like-minded individuals, right? And when you get with like-minded individuals, now it can also offspring other collaborations that could be mutually benefit for the both of you. One of the things that I am highly I stand on is, listen, what can we do? How can you take this chapter in this book and benefit beyond the book, right? What are some other things? How does it line with what it is that you do? And how can you take it to the next step? Whether it's collaborating with other people or developing other products from them, where other people have did that. People have developed businesses and ministries of birth, and all sorts of things have happened just because, listen, we decided to collaborate together with a message.
I love that. Well, for you who are out there who are an author, you may be a best-selling author, a new author, it's about positioning in order to magnify that message, whether that message was designed to create influence, impact, education, entertain, inspire, whatever it is. There are different platforms out there to help you expand that reach, create other training modules. For example, and Derashay is really good at that, creating more visibility. Barbara with her social media secrets, the video design and editing, which all three of us do, and then just training and knowing how to amplify your voice, how to show up, how to own that stage, which Dr. Derashay did so brilliantly on Friday on the International Ladies First radio show out of Las Vegas. So we encourage you, reach out to us, reach out to Dr. Derashay to learn more about collaboration books that she has upcoming, as well as if you want to just publish your book and you need an idea of how to get started, she's there for you. Barbara Beckley is here to help you really amplify who you are on social media. I'm a strategist, financial analyst, here to help you make money and to create more impact in all you do in life and in business. And ladies, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on Power of the Pen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until next week, we will see you on Facebook Live. You can follow us on E360 TV and on the Choose the Challenge YouTube channel. We will see you next week at 2 p.m. on another edition of Power of the Pen. Good night, everyone.